Right, guys, welcome to this Vesla show with preparations for the World Championships in Atlanta, USA. And I'm sitting here today with Jesper from Vesla and Björn Eriksson, national Swedish champion and one of the qualifiers from Sweden this year. How are you feeling, guys?
We're feeling good. Excited to go all the way over across the Atlantic and steal the trophy.
Yeah, as the old song said, when we dig for gold in the USA. Yeah, excited, a bit nervous. It's getting close to the actual journey, the trip. So yeah, but it's gonna be fun.
For sure. And joining you are 4 fellow Swedes as well. We have Daniel Hesselberg with his Blood Angels. We have Rasmus Haglund with his Astra Militarum. We have Victor Bergenholtz with his Tyranids. We have Joakim Engström with his Tyranids as well. So basically the theme for today is discussing your armies and your preparations, and we will walk through the Swedish lists for the World Championships in Atlanta 2024.
Yeah, so I'm playing Ultramarines Ironstorm Spearhead, and what I felt was that the GW train is very, very pushed towards shooting mainly and controlling far shooting lanes as opposed to the WTC maps that we're usually playing on. So it took me quite a while to figure this out, but when I finally did, I committed hard into that read of the meta, so this is where I landed. And basically it leans into the Ballistus Dreadnoughts and the Vindicators that I believe are quite undercosted currently. And then there's some complementary scoring units, a Lancer and a Calidus, because I just think they're good units. And then I added the Marnius Calgar together with Company Heroes, which once again gives me all the CP for the amazing strategy and detachment. And also Gilliman himself, the Primarch, is finally coming out. He went down so much in points, he finally got his breach and everything, so I think it's really strong now, and that's mainly my plan. I will shoot you to death and take all the points.
For sure. And you're having an assassin here as well for some secondaries, I presume?
For secondaries, it did get buffed slightly, even in the new codex. For Imperial Agents, and of course there's the Vectora that I think most people know about, where any stratagem used by the opponent onto a unit within 12 of the Calid is going to cost 1 more CP, so if you try to get close to the shooting army, everything is going to cost you more, so you're going to die there as well.
What's the idea behind it when it comes to GW terrain? You're used to playing on WTC terrain, as with most Swedish players, I guess.
Yeah, so that's where I started out. I wanted to play, a lot of infantry units in transports, which is sort of the most fun way to play 40k, to be honest. So I played a lot of CSM initially, but I really found out, especially in my testing against Bjorn early on, he just shafted me time and time again with Rogel Dorns and Lima Russes. So what we realized is that it's basically unplayable on many GW maps to try to stage onto the opponent and then charge into them. So that's not going to happen. So what you need to lock down the firing lanes, and I think I found a build that really does that well. I went through CSM. I then had a quick detour into Death Guard that I wanted to try for a bit, which I think is quite potent, but it's once again a bit hard to move such slow units on this terrain, and especially since you don't have that much long-range shooting control yourself. And then I went into Demons for quite a bit, but I got some rules clarifications coming into Worlds where that nerfed the army slightly, so I didn't really like that. And parallel to this, I had 2 friends, Joel and Jonathan, who were sort of testing adjacent builds to this Ironstorm list, and I sort of put the pieces together by playing all the Vindicators, all the Ballistus Dreadnoughts, and then I also added both Kalgar and Gilliman, whom they were both testing separately, and that kind of came together into something that I like quite a bit. And there's also the fact that I think the meta is quite weak against 2+ save with Arm of Contempt.
And that is obviously the main strength of your army, having 2+ saves and shooting quite a lot. What are your weaknesses, or what are you daring to face?
So I think the most problematic matchups would be extremely quick move block that I can't handle in any way. Could theoretically show up. For example, gargoyles would be very good against my army. And then there's staging, pushing armies on tables where that actually works. And since we don't know the tables or the missions coming into WTC, coming into Worlds, apart from the pack in itself, we can't really tell, so it's hard to build for. So we had to make a general catch-em-all choice.
So Björn, what are your comments about this army?
It's a nasty army shaved down to like the like the bare minimum of what you need to play the game, and then just fill it up with power and to kill your opponent. It's a really nice list, even when it doesn't really work. Like even when it's kind of cold dice, it's still very good. And we've tested it. You've tested a lot, and we played a couple of games, and even with like the luck on my side, it's still been like tight games. So it's a really good list. And with the addition of Kalgar and Gilliman to have some really tough counterpunch units, or just to push up the board, a monster lone up that stands back up on a 3+, it's hard to deal with, backed up with all that shooting. So it's a really good, strong army.
Walking to the next army, Björn, your Astra Militarum. Can you walk us through it?
Yes, and I've been playing Astra Militarum almost exclusively since WTC, since we needed to get more knowledge of them, and I've really fallen in love with them. It's a really fun army to play. They have the power and the tricks to be an interesting army in. I was gonna say all the phases. There were more phases when you had Bullwins, but still a fun army to play, and very strong right now. And as Jesper said before, having some long-range firepower, being able to have shootouts and win those is a key point. But I have some more trash and tricks in my army, possibly to not have to sacrifice things on objectives. That's too much worth. So my army starts off, of course, with Lord Solar Leontus, and he will join a unit of a platoon command squad that has a mortar, and they will join an infantry squad with another mortar, just to have something to shoot a bit indirect, to pick up some chaff, possibly do some Fields of Fire strat to increase AP if necessary. And then I have 2 tank commanders. They are just great units. They shoot really good, and when they die they can possibly shoot again, which helps in the shootouts. I also have 1 Tempest of Scion command squad with the...
And they got buffed as well, right?
They got the ability to I mean, they got the platoon keyword, so they can take orders and have lethals. So they can give orders to themselves, and they have lethals against monsters and vehicles, which is a nice little buff. They were like borderline good before, but now they are really good, especially in like GW terrain, where you want to go in the middle and have a shootout, basically. And then I had, so I said a Tempestus Scion blob with a command squad as well as a 10-man unit. They are just a nice like scalpel unit. They can land and pick up almost any infantry squad, and they can do some work against vehicles as well, especially if something's on an objective with the rerolls. And then I have 2 lone up characters as well. I have the Gaunt's Ghost, which is just a great unit to it goes back up in reserve and can deep strike again, and has okay shooting as well. And then Sly Marbo, Rambo himself, will make an appearance in my list, which is just a nice little lone up for 65 points that can shoot, move after he shoots, so he can move up, you can shoot, toss a grenade and shoot and then move back, or you can overwatch something that comes close and then move back. So it's a really tricky unit that will hopefully make it easier to like go and take those area denials and cleanses and things like that, and not just die. And after that, as I said, one infantry squad, but apart from that, 2 Katashan squads that will be in Chimeras. Really like them in the open terrain on GW, putting a Chimera there that you have to deal with, and then jumping out with 20 OC to still have that objective. It's really nice. And with the scout, they can often take good spots on the board. Moving on, I have Hellhound. I like it. It's necessary to. I mean, it's a good unit in itself in many matchups where you want to just fry some chaff with their strength 6 flamers, but also being able to strip cover in those like against 2+ armor contempt armies, to be able to like get over that breakpoint in save can be the thing that makes you win those firefights basically. So it's and also it's a tough unit that you can just put midfield. And then I have one regular Lehman Russ just to have some more long range firepower. It's really good when your opponent is on an objective. It can quite easily clear like smaller marine units and chaff and even like smaller vehicles on an objective. And then trusty Rogel Dorn for some more heavy firepower, both long range and especially close range. And then, as I said, the Scion squad and also one unit of Aquilon. I was debating to having more, but I think after the nerf that they just put into the World Championship, that you can't ingress them through inches, I think one is enough. You can always refund that one if you need to. And then a Sentinel, just for some quick scouting mission piece that also buffs the shooting. And then the last like tech piece is the regimental attaches that will join Leontus and his squad to have a 12-inch anti-deep aura, just to keep out Aquilons from my backfield, or Genestealer cults, or Grey Knights, or Hypercrypt, or whatever wants to 3-inch deep strike and kill my Leontus blob. And that's basically the army. So a mix of long-range firepower and a lot of trash that's either lone up protected or has some other tricks, being like a kinder egg of Katashans that jump out and take the objective basically.
And how did you end up on this army? How has the journey been?
Well, as I said, I've been playing Astra a lot lately and been doing well with them. I've played a lot of Bullgrins before, but with the last point hike and testing on GW terrain, landed in that you don't really need them. You can solve the same problem with just putting trash in the way instead. So I skipped them, and that opens up a lot of points for other things. And as Jesper said, with like the need to be able to have some shootouts, I packed in some tank commanders, which I haven't used really before, just to have those heavy hitters that can also shoot on death. Yeah, and then just fill up with a bit more of lone up. The Gaunt's Ghost to have something to infiltrate and just keep possible infiltrators back, and then redeploy them back with Leontus if needed. So a bit more tricks and a bit more heavy firepower basically. It's what I landed in at the end.
And what would you say are your main strengths of your army?
I mean, it's not as shooty as Jesper's army, but it still shoots very well. The Rogel Dawn it's a tough and strong tank, as well as the tank commanders. So shooting and having some tricks to solve problems is probably the strength of it. It's a tricky army with a lot of shooting, basically.
And what's your army's weakness?
I mean, we've been seeing that Gene Stealer cults are pretty good against Astra Militarum. That can be a problem. Hopefully, with the more open terrain on GW, it should be a bit easier not to just be completely blocked in. Other than that, just as Jesper said, like a really fast melee army on the wrong table can be problematic as well. You really have to play that right, otherwise you can just get run over if you're unlucky. Other than that, I with some of the changes to the army, I think some of the other like tricky matchups, their mirror match should be a bit easier with attaches and things like that. So Gene cults, World Eaters, Blood Angels on the wrong table, possibly Chaos Knights on the wrong table if they also just push you hard. And then if you face like if you're in a shootout against a bigger gun, that could be a problem as well, of course.
All right, so moving on, we're having a look here at Joakim Engström's Tyrannid invasion fleet list, which contains a Broodlord, a Warlord Hive Tyrant with adaptive biology, a Nevdo Tyrant, battle line containing of 3 units of Hormagaunts, 1 Biobor, 3 Exocrines, 10 Gene Stealers, 1 Lictor, 2 Maleceptors, a big unit of Nevdo Gaunts, 3 Raveners, and a Tyrannofex. What's your general thoughts about this one?
It's a nice cookie character version of the invasion fleet build. It makes a lot of sense. You have quite powerful army rules and good strats, and there's a few units here that are extremely good for their points. For example, I think the Gene Stealers are quite promising nowadays, and then Hormagaunts are obviously turning out to be the contesting unit of choice, which I think makes sense at 65 points with advanced charge and all their movement. Exocrines are extremely cheap, and I think it makes sense to go for all of 3 of them. The Maleceptors are obviously very, very good. And then there's the Tyranids, which is a quite nice tech piece. I think he has a lot of Rogel Dorns and Lehman Russes in mind when he he makes that choice. So I think it makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. And I know he's been playing Tyranids exclusively now for I think 1 or 2 years. So I bet he has a lot of practice on the list.
Any additional thoughts, Björn?
I know he has some Rogel Dorns or at least some Russes on his mind with that Tyrannofex. We played a couple of weeks ago in a tournament, and I was his only loss. Otherwise, he crushed with almost that list. But the addition of the Tyrannofex to have and just like take advantage of those long firing lanes on GW terrain it's a nice addition. So I think it's a nice list. Those Hormagaunts with their respawning, the strat for respawning them are annoying to deal with. They can spawn back on objectives and be annoying. So it's a nice list.
For sure. Moving forward to the other Tyrannid list from a Swede, Viktor Bergenholtz, another invasion fleet with a Death Leaper, a Warlord Hive Tyrant with the enhancement of adaptive biology, a Nevro Tyrant, 2 units of Hormagaunts, 1 unit of Gargoyles, and the Hormagaunt units here are big as well. 1 Biobor, 2 Exocrines, 2 Lictors, 2 Maleceptors, 2 Nevdo Lictors, and 2 Pyrovores, and a Tyrannofex. Björn, what are your thoughts about this list?
I know Victor has played Tyranids a lot. He played them on WTC for Team Norway, and he has a lot of practice with them. And yeah, I think he will make the most of his army. I might be lacking some shooting in that compared to Jokes, but maybe it's just us being like in the mindset of having to have shootout armies. But I'm sure he will make the most of it.
Jesper, any thoughts?
Yeah, so I think Victor is going more for secondary play, obviously, with all the lone ops. So uh, I guess it comes back to how you win the game. You win the game by getting points. So obviously his philosophy sort of carries through in this list, where at least compared to Jukke's, where he has a bit less damage, especially on long range, but he's gonna be able to stand around, move block, and do his secondaries for a bit longer.
Yeah, and you're mentioning the fact that both of the Tyranid armies are having access to their precious loan up. You guys are having it as well in your list. Is that a factor that the GW tables are creating, you think?
I think loan ops are, I wouldn't call them mandatory, but there's going to come a point where you can't expose yourself at that specific point, and that's where loan operatives come in, that they force the opponent to engage you close in order to deny you whatever objective you're trying to achieve. So, yes, I think loan ops make a lot of sense on this mission set.
For sure. And moving on to Daniel Papadi Hesselberg and his Blood Angels. It's a Liberator assault group which contains a captain with the enhancement of Rage Fueled Warrior to make him more punchy, I believe. Another Blood Angels captain, a captain with Jump Pack with the speed of the Primarch, a captain with Jump Pack, Chief Librarian Mephiston, Commander Dante, Limartes, 2x5 Assault Intercessors, 2 Impulsors, 2x5 Assault Intercessors with Jump Packs, 10-man unit of that company, and then 3 units of 3 Sanguinary Guard and a Scout Squad for some secondaries. Jesper, you being the Blood Angel man here, any thoughts about this list?
This makes a lot of sense looking at it on how we would expect a Blood Angel list to look. This is sort of the other side of where you could go, I guess, or lean. So this is the type of staging melee army that me and Bjorn would fear on a subset of tables. So he's really leaning into that. He's gonna stage and then he's gonna flip the game basically if you miss position or if the terrain doesn't allow you to punish the staging. So yeah, I think it makes sense. It really leans into that. There's no shooting at all. It's just fast melee, and then there's a bit of a slower melee aspect that hits even harder. So there we are.
And you brought Blood Angels to the US last time you were there, right?
Correct. A couple of months ago, I went over the Atlantic with Blood Angels. Yes.
Did you try them out for the championships as well?
No, I moved away from staging melee after playing my initial testing. I think it's a bit too risky matchup wise when you end up on the wrong table. I really want control of the match regardless of the setting, so that's why I chose to go away from it. But it's very possible that Daniel found something that I didn't.
Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts about this army, Björn?
I agree with Jesper about what he said. Also, I would like to add, like he has some things that can also play on the GW train a bit, like the impulses to put something on an objective you have to and fall out of that. Mephiston, which is lone up, it's a tough lone up guy that can also take an objective and is not easy to shift unless you like really go for him, and then you would of course expose yourself to a counter charge. So yeah, I like it. On the right terrain, he will probably be able to play it really well. On some of the maps, it can be a bit tough, I guess, depending on the matchup, of course. But yeah, he can just take his army and punch someone in the face and win quickly if he's given the chance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and during your army walkthrough, you were a bit afraid, or you were seeing a weakness in staging or rushing melee armies. Would you consider this one being one of those archetypes?
Absolutely. As I said, on some of the maps, you can stage quite well, and just threaten. Without the Bullgrins to just eat a charge from Blood into the World Leaders, it's quite scary for Astra. So for sure, it can be a tough match.
Cool. So, for the sixth and final Swedish list for this year's World Championships, we have Rasmus Haglund and his Astra Militarum. It's the index detachment with some Gaunt's Ghost, the Pony King, Lord Solar Leontus, 2 Tempestus Command Squads, 1 Platoon Command Squad, Mr. Sly Marbo, 3 tank commanders, 2 Katashan jungle fighters, 1 infantry squad, 1 unit of regimental attaches, 1 Rogel Dorn, double Aquilon, and double Scions as well. So, Björn, being the Astra man in the room, what are your thoughts about this list?
We've talked a lot about lists, Rasmus and Jesper and a group of guys, and this is a similar list to mine, but take away all the extra trash and just add more power. So basically he has another Scion blob to deep strike into damage, another Aquilon squad, but skips out on the Chimeras and the Hellhounds and the Sentinel. So in a straight shootout, it's stronger. It's a bit harder to play KG, but he can probably just move up and crush a lot of opponents with his army, basically.
Mm-hmm. Any additional thoughts, Jesper?
I agree. It's quite similar army to what Björn's bringing. I think we see where the Astra thoughts are converging, and I would expect a lot of other Astra lists to be somewhere in between these two armies. What's missing here from both of them are Bullgrins and Ogrins that I think people still are considering, and I guess that's an interesting choice, and we'll see how other Astra Militarum players end up thinking in less than 24 hours, probably.
Yes. The Bullgrins, I think, have been dropped a bit more, especially on this terrain. But the regular Ogrins are very cheap for what they do, and I expect to see a lot of them. I'm not sure why Rasmus didn't have them. For me, it was you can't get everything, and I thought to myself, I'll keep the shooting and I'll add the tricks instead of Bullgrins, basically. But as Jesper say, I think we'll see plenty of Ogrins, maybe some Bullgrins, not the full 18, maybe not even 12, but perhaps a 6-man unit here and there, to have something to anchor down an objective, perhaps.
How are your final preparations going? Are you catching enough sleep? What do you do? Are you like repping games, or are you meditating to prepare yourselves?
I'm trying to keep to my schedule, so I try to keep the work-life balance appropriate. I try to exercise and sleep well. I'm trying to cram in a lot of games. I think I'm up to 29 games so far post-patch, and I plan to play, I think maybe 6 to 10 more before Worlds, and I might be able to play like one more game before the lists are released, and then there's going to be more focus testing on the pod list that look especially strong, or the pod players that you would expect to be the toughest opponents. So that's probably where I'm gonna look into. But then there's also, of course, you need to find a balance and not burn yourself out too early.
Björn?
Now with the list being revealed, and when we have those and we have the pods, you can get some games into what you consider like the top dogs in the group, and that's what I'm planning to do. And then basically we are going on the trip. So it's I'll try to get in some games, and just prepare like mentally into some games, as well as try to get some sleep and prepare for the journey.
Thank you very much for being here today. And we hope that we will, from Visla's side, provide some more content before, during, and of course after the tournament itself. If you have any questions to the players, feel free to ask them on our Discord server. We do have an English channel there as well for you international viewers. Catch up, and hopefully we will hear more from you guys soon. Will you bring home a world champion title, you think?
I will do my very best.
Of course, we will try. That's a tall order, but of course we will do our best to do it. But we'll see. Yes, going there and having this experience is the main goal for me. And anything else than that is a bonus.
For sure, for sure. All right. Thank you very much, guys, and good luck in Atlanta. Peace out.